Welcome to today's segments of Moments Off the Bat. I'm Cody Bickley, USA Wrestling National Team High Performance Manager, joined by our special guest today, former USA Wrestling National Team Head Coach and current Arizona State University Head Coach, Zeke Jones. Zeke, thanks for joining us today. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Cody. Appreciate you having me on. Normally our offices were right next to each other, but now we're going to do it over the computer long distance. But
yeah, that's right. Always keeping in contact, though. You're always been a true warrior for USA Wrestling and the Olympic movement, and a part of your life, obviously, as well as a competitor, and then moving up through to the coaching ranks and traveling the world and leading our teams, obviously at the successful international stage. So always good to catch up with you. But Zeke, why don't we just start? I want to get in a little bit, obviously, the current status of what you have going on with your program at ASU, and then I want to kind of delve off into the regional training centers, which was, as we be quite honest, a brainchild of yours when you were coming into the USA Wrestling as a full-time capacity. But let's start with ASU. How are things going down there?
Yeah, ASU, we're doing good. We're training. Like anything, we're strength conditioning right now. Athletes are getting in shape, getting strong. Some are training in the RTC. Of course, that's a conversation for a little bit for now. But we're just getting ready for the season. Like anything, it's preparation. I think we're at where we should be. Of course, Pac-12 is got an announcement coming out today regarding football, and that will trail into all our other sports too. But like everybody else, we're just getting ready to compete. We're training hard, excited. I think we got all the pieces in place. ASU, we graduated a number one recruiting class, but we added a number two recruiting class last year that all redshirted. So you'll see some new faces on wearing Sun Devil singlets, but not new faces to American wrestling, guys like Colton Schultz, right, and Nick Ramo, Julian Klebo, those guys who have been around the national team circuit as cadets and juniors, obviously Ja'Cory Teemer and Cordell Norfleet, junior Pan Am champ. Those guys have been on the national circuit for a while. So, new faces with some of the older faces, and, we're just excited about the season, get ready to start.
Yeah, and I know it's feel like we're getting a little bit closer. I know we're 6 months in, right? And this has been a long process for sure, and everybody's getting antsy. But I know there's still, you talked about football a little bit, and there's still a lot to be determined. But I think, to wrestling fans, that traditional season, while we don't know what it looks like, it's probably not going to look the same, correct?
Yeah, I think it's going to look different, and again, we don't know yet. We know we're getting ready to compete. We just don't know what it looks like yet. And like everything, it's the hurry up and wait, right? We've had this long wait, and then a decision is made, and we hurry up and do something. And then we wait, and then when a decision is made, we hurry up and do something. And I think we're at that place where we're just about ready to hurry up and do something. And I think that's return to practice for a lot of teams around the country. Particularly for us, we've been able to train, but then it's once competition's announced, and then the conferences all haven't worked out, then we're going to be back on the mats ready to roll.
Yeah. Zeke, if there's in a pandemic like this, it always seems like you wake up and bad news after bad news, and you're trying to stay upbeat. In the sport of wrestling, kind of staying on that collegiate mode and even taking that into the international level. What are the positives that you can take out of something like this?
Yeah, I think you learn new things about yourself. You learn new things about your team. You learn new things about your family, right? And I know, you and I have worked a lot together over these last 6 months, having discussions about what do we do next? How do we do something differently or new? And I think that's what we've learned. We've learned to communicate in different ways, obviously over Zoom, but, just recruiting alone, it's been an interesting way to get to know families and kids over the computer. We're using a lot more videos, things like that. We've been studying a lot more video than we probably would have, if we were wrestling, right? Doing a ton of video work, but we're also, we're just getting to know each other, I think, I'm going to say better. I'm going to say in a different way, but in better. The hours you'd normally be telling someone to execute a move and they're executing it. Well, now I'm not doing that. I'm calling them and say, hey, let's talk about executing that move. Hey, and by the way, how's your family? And how are you doing? And how's your mental health? And how's your body? And how's your mind? And what have you picked up on video lately? And so I'm building relationships in different ways that, not that it's new, these relationships, but maybe more expanded, more getting to know people a little bit more, because it's less wrestling and more getting to know each other. So I think that's been new and different, and I've actually liked it. We're back to full training for the most part. You know, it's a little awkward and different in some ways, but you know, so we have our sanity, I think, because we're able to do the things that we want to do for the most part. So that's probably kept us even more than anything, you know, mentally, physically.
Yeah, and I know you talk about getting up and training. And I know right out east, there's, I believe it was the EIWA already, right? That they've made a statement that, you know, no wrestling for sure until January 1, I believe, correct? So, I mean, you make a good point that it's definitely different across the country, and that's challenging and can be frustrating if you're in that piece where maybe you're a little bit more restricted. But definitely, it's you bring up a good point of how you're attacking things. It's kind of that adapt or die a little bit, and you're learning new avenues and changing really the way that you coach a little bit and adding things to the repertoire, and probably one of those things that we've always noted that you'll probably continue to use, even, you know, when you come out of this, maybe on the other side, you'll stick with some of these things, right? But Zeke, I want to back it up a little bit. And, you know, you've had a tremendous coaching career filtering through the collegiate levels and different programs, and then eventually up to before you went to ASU as obviously the head men's freestyle national team coach. And when you came to USA Wrestling at that time, it needed to go through some transitions, just flat out. And you were tasked with leading that program. And I'd say let's go back to that, essentially kind of when you came in that first month, and you're making the calls and diving into what needs to be done. One of those things that started to come to fruition a little bit was the regional training center model that has evolved and grown, and we'll get into that. But talk a little bit about those first few months and regional training centers getting up and running.
Yeah, well, first off, appreciate you having me flash back. Yeah, because the brain swirls, at that time. Several things that pop right in my head is, one, being grateful for the opportunity, a tremendous responsibility. But man, you pitch yourself every day when you get a chance to work with the best in the world, that responsibility, but the fun that comes with it. I also learned how much I didn't know. I think one thing you got to keep your mind open is to continue to learn and continue to grow and adapt, because things are changing. Rules are changing, making the techniques change, the strategies and the tactics change. The world is evolving. College wrestling is evolving. Thank God we had good leadership. Rich is there, and obviously you shifted over in this capacity. Les was there. Ravnak was there. So we had good long-term leadership, guys that knew what they were doing, and we had a good base and a lot of support. But it was, you couldn't fake it. This is these athletes are the best in the world, and they know their craft inside and out. So I didn't need to be prepared every day. I had to wake up and be ready to go at the highest level, because I owed it to the athletes. So those are some of the things that pop in my head. I learned how much I didn't know, but I also knew there was some low-hanging fruit. And I could see there were some places where we could really grow the program. The first thing we focused on wasn't a double leg, it was raising money. I knew that if we were going to be successful, we needed to get a few more bucks in the door to provide the programming I thought we needed. And I thought USA Wrestling graciously had a budget, and it was good. But we wanted a great budget. And like any program, nobody has an unlimited checkbook. Nobody. USA Wrestling doesn't have it. Iowa doesn't have it. Penn State doesn't have it. Arizona State doesn't have it. Football doesn't have it. Alabama football doesn't have it. Now, they have big budgets, of course, but nobody just gets a checkbook and gets to write whatever they want. So I had big plans in my mind and things I wanted to do, but didn't have enough money to do it. So we certainly got out and hustled some money in the door. That's where guys like Mike Novogratz, Dave Barry, Andy Barth really got involved. Obviously, you had the guys, the mainstays, the legends, the godfathers of the program, like Art Martori in New York AC, that were providing help to the program. But we went out and raised money. That was low-hanging fruit. But the part you were talking about, really, I could see was a big place we were going to make gains, was to build our RTC model, our regional training program. It was really done by Dan Gable and Bobby Douglas back in the 70s. Dan went on a streak there with all sorts of national championships, and he had all the Olympic athletes training there. And Bobby Douglas said, wait a second, if we're going to beat them and also be the best in the world, not just ASU being good, but also the United States of America being good, we need to build Olympic regional training centers. So Bobby and Art Martori got together, partly because they wanted to beat Iowa, but mostly because we wanted to be the best country in the world. So we started to build a regional training center at Arizona State that rivaled, University of Iowa's. And so Hawkeye Wrestling Club and the Sunkist Kids Wrestling Club, along with our national clubs like New York AC that were already there, were tremendous. But there weren't enough of them, enough programs doing it. Thank God Tommy Rowlands came along. Tommy came along and he knew it. He knew the model and said, okay, Tom Ryan, new coach, let's help him build a regional training center. He went out and raised money, and they went and got 5 guys, and I'm going to mess up the names and try to remember off the top of my head, but it was Tervel and Keith Gavin, Reese Humphrey, and Bunch, and I'm missing my last one. JD Bergman. And they went out and recruited these guys, brought them the RTC, and Lou coached them up, and all of a sudden, bam, great regional training center. Well, Cale said, no way. We got to have one too. Cale came out of the same program I did, right? Bobby coached him and Bobby coached me. Cale knew what that model looked like because Bobby took that same model to Iowa State. So then Cale got competitive, raised some money, brought some people in, and then all of a sudden you realize that if you want to have a great college program, you needed to have an RTC. But also what I saw as the national coach was, why try to have one Olympic training center when you could have 5 or 6 or 7? And that's what happened, that we, not only did we have these great programs pop up, these regional training centers, then the other thing is we worked in concert with the NCAA, because at the time, the rules, I think there had been just so many years of difficult, kids can't feed themselves in college, and where am I getting my next meal, and I need shampoo, and I don't have any money. I'm a poor college student athlete. So they started to relax the rules that pertains to helping college athletes, but also helping prospective student athletes, right? Recruits, prospective student athletes. So they loosened up the rules. The NCAA, in concert with the United States Olympic Committee, said, hey, let's help the pipeline and create some avenues where they could work together, because really everybody trained in their silos. High school trained in their silo, junior athletes, high school, university and seniors train in their silos, cadets train in middle school. What we were able to do is try to link schoolboy to cadet to junior to university to senior in one location. Within the rules, we were very, very in tune to making sure that we did it the right way. And so that got us launched off, Cody. That got regional training centers, both not the width of them, but the breadth of training centers, both with the amount of training centers, but then the depth we could create within the training centers. And that's what I thought really propelled us, to bring Mark Halls and Spencer Lees to the Olympic Training Center, to come to the World Team Training Camps, to send them on multiple trips. The first trip I ever went on, I was on the senior world team. My junior year in college, first one I ever went on. Now, if you make a senior world team, it's probably your 20th trip you've been on. You went to the cadet worlds, you went to the junior worlds. We took you on 3 training camps overseas with us, with the senior team, before you even went to the senior worlds now. So, those were the main bullet points, that we focused on in that first couple months.
Yeah, that's awesome to know that history a little bit. I always like doing that. And I think obviously I'm biased and, but I think it's easy to say in one of those, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, let's look at the medal count. within the last, it's skyrocketed. It really has. I mean, unprecedented, and kind of some firsts that have been coming along. Junior world team titles, highest number of age level medals of all time. I mean, you're starting to see some of those things as these kids, coaching's a big part of it, and you put them in those environments and they get those opportunities, bam, there's the results you're looking for, right? I mean, it's not real complicated, but it's been great. It's been great, Zeke, and that's great to hear. Hey, I want to shift back a little bit and talk a little bit on the NCAA a little bit. But what do you think what's healthy right now in NCAA wrestling? What's good? What's the thing that's really got going for you guys right now?
I think we have a tremendous product. The NCAA tournament's like no other. There's a tremendous following. Now that we've been able to have these video audio platforms, internet platforms, we've got more information than ever at our disposal. And so it's been good that we have knowledge, and we've been able to utilize that at the NCAA level. We had 10,000 people at a dual meet at Arizona State. And not just us. If you look around at the nation, attendance is up everywhere in those programs because the coaches, are taking a little more of a CEO approach, and every coach, depending if you're, a true purist coach, or you have that more of the CEO mentality, every program's taking it on. The video platforms like Flow and Track and USA Wrestling have given us vehicles to watch more wrestling. I think that's benefited the college programs. And, I think kids are coming better prepared to college than they ever have. Our highest GPAs ever, highest graduation rates. I mean, you're seeing the highest ever in the history of athletics for wrestling. We got a much more prepared student athlete coming in than ever before. And I just think it's more important. I know we've had some drop programs, but in those programs that have it, wrestling is more important than it's ever been in the athletic department. We have a seat at the table here at Arizona State. When major decisions are being made, wrestling has a seat at the table because we are bringing a lot of revenue in. We do have a large fan following. We have people in the community that are engaged and love what we're doing. And I know that we're not just the only one. Pat, is doing a great job at North Carolina State. Coleman's doing a good job at North Carolina. Purdue. I mean, you can look at all these programs. They're just creating more energy around their program. And I think that's what's good in college wrestling right now.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. You talk about, the athletes and the coaches that they're around just keeps evolving and getting better and better. And it's so fun for our country as a whole, not just NCAA, but taking it up to the international level, seeing that. But you talk about video platforms and stuff, and I did one of these earlier on, and I know but I was joking with Bruce Burnett because not that long, it really wasn't that long ago. He's telling the story about how he'd have to grab 3 cameras, right, and get on a plane and fly over to the European Championships and talk some kids into video. And while he's there, and that was the only way he could get video on anybody, because now it's a lot more. You travel to these international events, and you may, if you don't want to watch it live, you can watch it later. But if you want to wake up at 3 o'clock in the mornings per se, you can do that and watch it.
We even, and like Bruce, we would same thing, take cameras over and pay little kids in the stands $50. Hey, I'm gonna give you $50. $50 like a month's salary for an adult.
Right.
Not $50, they video all day, but you carry boxes of VHS tapes over for scouting. I remember a lot of people, a blessing for the American people. Remember when we were airing the Russian Nationals, right? Flow Wrestling put it on. Well, they went over and did it one time, and then all of a sudden I called Bader and I called those guys and said, and Christian, I said, hey, we'll buy your ticket to the Russian Nationals if you'll air it and give us the video. So the first, several years we were paying to send them over to film the Russian Nationals. Of course they would put the content up and people loved it, but we humanized the Russians. Because before Flow started airing it, people, the Russians are so good. I'm like, wait a second, you guys. We beat these guys forever. We could still beat them again, but we need to know what they're doing. So we started airing it and pumping tons of video out to the American public. Of course, our kids saw it, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, we can beat them. They're not that good. And that really helped a lot.
That is huge. You bring up a great point. We're seeing it. You see it now. You've seen it even at the cadet level, right? You know, that wow factor, that large eyes anymore. Kids are walking into the world championships like, I'm going to win this thing. And they are. And they are. That's what's fun. You know, there's a good number of them that can do it. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That access and that video and just having that when athletes get access to that things, I mean, watch out with what happens, and then put it around good coaching.
And I think you've done a good job, you yourself personally, as well as the staff, is developing the relationship with the NCAA. What's good is there's a relationship there. Now, I'm not saying that there's not opposing viewpoints sometimes, right? You know, we got small budgeted schools, we got bigger budgeted schools, and then the NCAA's, you know, the level playing field, or, you know, as much as they can make it. But having that relationship with the NCAA, I think, is what's good in wrestling, because we're talking more than we ever have. We're trying to create a set of rules that's fair for everybody, as much as we can make it, because, you know, the budget of Penn State's different than the budget of a Kent State. But how do we make it fair enough for Kent State that they can compete and have success? And I think that's because of the relationships you guys have built, and we got to continue to do that. And I think that is what is good. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't challenges, but I think that relationship's good. You guys have done a good job, particularly you, on that.
Yeah, well, it's been a fun run, Zeke, and I know you got a busy day and a lot of things in front of you, but just a couple things. I guess I have two last questions here. The first one is, tell us one thing that maybe the wrestling community doesn't know about Zeke Jones.
Boy, I don't know. My wife and I are we're working on our great room right now.
There you go.
House projects going on.
Little house projects during the pandemic, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you one, because I haven't done it. What pandemic has taught me how to do is bake chocolate chip cookies. I bake 12 of them every night, and I eat them every night. Jacob and I have to fight over them. My wife.
12.
But
they don't even last till the next day, huh?
Yeah, they're never there the next day. But little baking has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's fun. But Zeke, I really appreciate your time, and always good to catch up with you. And thank you for all you do for our sport. But I'm going to give you just the last word. Any piece of advice or what you tell a wrestling community, you have the last word.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, just, get behind, our sport, USA Wrestling, and its leadership's really doing a great job in this tough time, very tough time. Our sport's going to be better than ever through this time. And we're just building great human beings. The sport is the catalyst to build people that are beautiful and special in their own way, and obviously teaching them all the life characteristics. And it won't be that long before we're back on the mats. And, let's just support the sport. Let's get better. Let's love it. Let's take care of it. Treat it like it's your own, and let's just keep moving forward. And forks up, of course, Sun Devils. And you.
All right. Thank you, head coach, Arizona State University, Zeke Jones. Thanks once again for joining us. That concludes today's segments of Moments Off the Mat. We wish you well and hope to see you soon. Take care.